extraterrestrials, all races, whether they look like us or whether they look like greys or mantis or the benevolent reptilians or any others, which there are indeed many, from my understanding at this point.
Well, Troy, I got to ask you a question. Now, I come to a conclusion. You know, I've had some scientists on my show. We've done a lot of talking about it. I got a funny feeling this Earth has been rebooted at least 2 or 3 times where, you know, something happened where it took out all life and life either came back one way or another or help with, you know, from, aliens, for example. But the reason why I'm saying this, you know, the Sphinx, okay, for years they thought the wear marks on the back of the Sphinx was created by sand blowing against it. Well, they just now, in the past year, came to a conclusion with testing and all that stuff that the wear marks on the back of the Sphinx was not created from sand blowing against it. They figure it was underwater, under an ocean. And that means that at one point, you know, here this was built, then an ocean was there, and then the ocean disappeared, and here's the Sphinx yet. And that tells us that's way before any civilization of humans. And, you know, when you go back into, you know, even prehistoric man in caves, the drawings on the caves that survived showing like men flying or men wearing like a funny helmet and, you know, like uniform type of thing. This is prehistoric. Humans are the first, you know, where they were smart enough to be able to draw this stuff they seen. Yeah, I don't think it was their imagination because those type of cave drawings have been found in so many different places. Tells me that we've been visited a long time ago. Now, the issue what I have, okay, yes, you might have been in communication with a alien species of one kind, but I feel there's so many of them out there. You know, the universes out there are so vast. It doesn't end. There's not a brick wall stopping. So, I mean, you know, civilizations from other planets could be coming down here on a regular basis and saying, hey, where's these signals coming from this lonely small planet? But then you get into the cattle mutilations. Then, one of my guests was with the CIA I had on, used to be with the CIA, and he sent me pictures of human mutilations like in South America, through the Amazon, all this stuff, done laser accuracy. The removal of the same thing like with the cattle, you know, their tongue being removed, their sexual organs being removed, and their hearts being removed. The same thing with human beings, found the same way. Not a bit of blood around them, nothing, no signs of any struggle. And that is telling me that there's all different type of species coming and checking us out. And yeah, you know, they could be friendly ones, you know, that want to mix in with the human race. Then there's other ones I think maybe they're not so friendly, and they might have other motives with humans. And again, they might be taking certain things for cloning. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely that's going on. Unfortunately for the human mutilations anyway, which I don't know a lot about, but I've heard of. Something that I've heard from our team members, or at least one of them who is a propulsions engineer, about the mutilations is that it's not so much, at least I don't think it's laser technology. I think it's something else we don't understand yet.
No, it's beyond. What I've heard is that it's beyond laser technology.
These animal mutilations, actually, these organs that have been taken from animals are done with not cutting, but separating cells, like cutting, like the division is between cells, or separation is between the cells, not actually breaking the cells at all, which is incredible. We don't have that technology that most of us know of. Now, I heard a report from Linda Moulton Howe recently. This was, I think, back in the 70s. She was talking with a sheriff who was investigating this one certain cow mutilation. And they found this veterinarian came out to this site, and they reached in the carcass, and I don't want to get into too much graphic detail, but basically the veterinarian concluded that the heart was missing, except the strange part is that the pericardium was still completely intact inside of the animal. No holes, no incisions, no punctures. Pericardium, which is kind of like an organ and a barrier around every mammal's heart, was completely intact, which means that they somehow have the technology to not only separate organs that they want from the rest of the bodies, but also somehow remove them, like teleporting maybe outside the creature. Who knows what they want? I've heard that some of these greys and maybe other beings are even using some of the soft tissue organs for food as a food source on this planet while they're here. There are many theories, although that's not what I'm planning on talking about in depth tonight.
No, we don't have much more time either. But I will say this. Timothy Cullen, again, he was the one that was abducted, and Dr. Roger Lear removed the implant out of him. But, he got into, this type of thing after that happened to him. And he got into some of these cattle mutilations, going to where they were. And he went to this one ranch where it snowed, okay? And the farmer or the rancher woke up, and here's his prize bull. It was worth like $5,000 or $10,000, right? Is laying dead. Okay, now he's freaked out. He calls Timothy Cullen. Timothy Cullen comes out there. The sheriff comes out there. The veterinarians come out, and all that stuff. The same thing, okay? The heart was removed. The sexual glands were removed. A couple other things were removed. Not a bit of blood in the animal. Not a bit of blood around the animal at all. It was no signs where the animal, was like, there's his footprints. There it's laying dead. And all the stuff was removed during the night. Now, there's no predators that's going to be able to do that. There's no insects that can do that. So, I mean, things are going on. So, I mean, that's scary. And then you look at all the people who go out for a ride or go somewhere in the forest and just totally disappear. Now, I will say Mary Joyce runs a reporting center just like Peter Davenport does. But she does it out of North Carolina, and she covers Bigfoot and UFOs and Earth changes. And she swears up and down there's a secret base there in North Carolina, and that there is aliens working with our government. And these are type of the aliens that basically are not friendly towards humans, and that they are cannibals.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's...
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, that's scary.
What I have to say about that is that I'm aware of many ET races. Some look like insects, some reptiles, some hybrids, even avians, which the blue avians I've heard of. They're all benevolent as far as I understand. They're humanoids. There's all kinds of ET beings. And I believe, and through personal experience, I've found that there's both good and bad ETs, or benevolent and malevolent. Just like there are so many different kinds of humans. There are criminals, there are murderers, rapists, cannibals. There are all kinds of people these days. Many good people, too. Healers, and basically the ET world, or I guess you could call it the universe, really. But all of the ET races that are out there have their own groups and factions and divisions within it that have so many different motives and missions.
Well, you're forgetting one major thing, Troy. Okay, we as humans, right? We grow up with compassion and caring and loving. Okay, now we're looking at our intelligent level. Now let's put it this way: if somebody is capable to go through the solar system from many light years away, they're going to be way more advanced than us. So maybe their ideas of compassion, because they grew up, or how they formed, is going to be different than how we formed on this planet and what we gone through. So that maybe some of those species out there don't feel like what we feel. They don't feel love. They don't feel compassion. And they don't understand us. And one thing you also have to understand, right? Do you feel bad when you walk down a flight of stairs and if you accidentally stepped on a bug, you don't even pay attention? You're not looking down on the ground, right? Avoid stepping on an ant, are you? You're not. You're just walking down the stairs. You're not. It doesn't concern you. They're an insect. Now, they could look at us basically as the same thing. Just think about that. They're maybe a million years ahead of us or whatever. We're nothing more to them than that bug you stepped on going to walk to your car that morning.
That can definitely be true for some of them. I guess at this time what I believe is that, of course, there are different species like insect, reptile, and mammal ETs, like on Earth, but out there, and each kind has its own temperament towards certain kinds of emotions or certain kinds of behaviors.
Well,
typically the reptiles that we know of have been more malevolent, and some of them have even awakened past that, but I've learned that the mammals especially are the ones that are most apt to have kindness and compassion and healing abilities and caring.
Well, the caring part...
No, that doesn't...
I got to interject again here, okay? I know you're young.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-60s, okay? But I remember growing up watching Donna Reed's show, Leave It to Beaver. Fathers knows best, right? And it all showed, a family, how each family, operated as a family, how they loved each other, how they cared about other people, how they respected people. The generation from the 50s to the 60s, was completely different than the 70s and 80s. And you start looking now, okay, when I grew up, okay, I was born in 1952. When I grew up, I knew everybody. My parents knew everybody up and down. We lived in Seattle. Everybody up down the block. We were all friends. We know each other's phone numbers. We'd have barbecues in the summertime together. If one of the neighbors had a problem, we'd be over there helping them, And things started changing in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And now most people don't care about your neighbor next door living to you. You don't care. You care less. People have lost that. And look how many years that has been. From the 50s to the 60s, 70s, even going back in the 40s and the 30s. Other than, some weird things that happened in the 30s and 40s I don't want to get into. But people have changed in a very short period of time. Honestly, I don't care about the neighbor living behind me or next to me. They don't care about me. But I didn't grow up that way. Now, you figure that in a short span of, 50 years or 55 years or 80 or 90 years. And you go back even farther. People, as we move forward in time, are losing that compassion, that love and caring. And that's what's scary. So that's when I get to the point when we get into a civilization really far advanced. They might not have those feelings because you don't probably have the same feelings I had as a kid and at your age. I mean, that's each generation has happened. So now let's move with of aliens, for example, that are so far ahead of us. They probably don't have any of these emotions that we have. other than what they can pull when they abduct somebody.